Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. Today, we're looking at a pretty specific policy move out of Argentina, a temporary suspension of their grain export taxes.
That's right. And the market reaction was pretty immediate.
Yeah.
China basically moved right away, snapped up, what was it, at least 10 Argentine soybean cargoes?
10 cargoes. Okay.
Yeah, and that effectively sidelines U.S. beans during, a pretty key window in the fourth quarter.
So what we want to do today is map this out for you. Look at that immediate market reaction, see who gains and, who loses from this.
Exactly. It all starts with the mechanism, right? Argentina suspending those export taxes. It just made their soybeans the cheapest option available pretty much overnight, especially for big buyers like China.
And the trade volume reflects that immediately. You mentioned 10 cargoes, minimum.
Minimum 10 Panamax cargoes. These are big ships, maybe 65,000 tons each, all heading to China.
Wow, okay. So quite a bit of physical movement there. Let's start with the winners then. Who benefits first?
Well, the most direct beneficiaries have to be the global grain merchandisers, wouldn't you say? Especially those with a big footprint in Argentina.
Makes sense. The one's already set up there.
Right. The tax relief just boosts exports right out of the River Plate. So more volume, better margins for them. Their whole setup, storage, crushing, loading it, all gets busier.
So we're talking about the big players who move grain globally. Companies like Bunge Global, that's ticker BEGUB-OG, they're known for big Argentina operations, especially with soy meal.
Yep, Bunge's key there. And also Archer-Daniels-Midland, ADM. ADM has a huge global network, heavily tied into South America too. They definitely benefit from increased throughput.
Okay, so the traders win. Who's next?
Well, think about those 10 cargoes. Someone's got to ship them.
Ah, right. The shippers,
Ah.
dry bulk shippers specifically, those Panamax vessels you mentioned.
Exactly. 10 confirmed cargoes, Argentina to Asia, that's
Yeah.
a long trip. It immediately tightens up near-term demand for those ships. It increases what we call ton miles.
Ton miles. Right, the amount of cargo times the distance it travels. A key metric for shipping.
Precisely. And that long haul racks up the ton miles fast. Better utilization, potentially better charter rates.
So specific companies.
You'd look at operators like Star Bulk Carriers, SBLK, Genco Shipping and Trading, Genco, and EGLE Bulk Shipping, EGLE. A sudden 10 cargo order like that, that's definitely a positive for their near-term outlook.
Okay, traders, shippers. Is there a third group?
There is, and it might seem a bit counterintuitive at first, U.S. protein and egg producers.
U.S. producers. How does cheaper Argentine beans help them?
It's about input costs. China buying Argentine beans means less demand for U.S. beans, globally speaking.
Yeah.
So U.S. soybean prices tend to weaken. And when bean prices soften, so does soymeal, which is, the main ingredient in animal feed.
Ah, I see. Cheaper feed. That's often their biggest single expense, isn't it?
Absolutely. So any drop in feed costs goes straight to helping their bottom line. It eases the pressure.
So who are we talking about here? Like Tyson?
Exactly. Tyson Foods, TSN, Pilgrim's Pride, PPC. And on the egg side, Cal-Maine Foods, Carolel. They're not exporting the beans, they're buying the meal. So lower prices are good news for them.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have our winners, the global traders, the shippers, and the U.S. feed buyers. Now let's flip that. Who's facing headwinds because of this?
Right, because someone usually does. And the first group feeling it would likely be U.S. farm equipment makers.
Okay, how does that work? Fewer U.S. exports means less need for tractors.
Sort of. It's more about farmer sentiment and income. Weaker U.S. bean prices, plus China buying elsewhere. It pressures farm cash receipts here. And when farmers get cautious about income, what's the first thing they often do?
Delay big purchases, like new equipment.
Exactly. Big ticket items, capital expenditures, those get postponed, which directly impacts companies like Deere & Co., ZRE, and AGCAC. Their sales depend a lot on farmer confidence.
Right, confidence, which might be shaky if prices are weaker and a major buyer looks elsewhere. So if the beans aren't selling as well to export markets, they're also not moving as much internally.
Correct. Which leads us to the next group, U.S. rail and barge companies involved in grain transport.
The ones hauling grain from the Midwest to the ports.
Precisely. Fewer U.S. beans heading to China means less demand for rail cars going to Pacific Northwest or the Gulf, and lighter traffic for barges on the Mississippi and other rivers carrying grain down to export terminals.
Okay, so which companies feel that?
You look at major rail operators like CSX, ticker CUSX, and Norfolk Southern, NSC. And for barges, a company like Kirby Corp, KX, which is big in inland waterway transport, they rely on that steady flow of grain.
Makes sense. Less export volume means less domestic hauling needed to get it there. Is there one more category?
Yes, and it's sort of linked to that farm income pressure we mentioned earlier, U.S. fertilizer producers.
Okay. How does the Argentina situation hit fertilizer demand?
It's usually a bit of a delayed reaction, but it follows from farm economics. If farm income is down or uncertain, farmers tend to cut back on their most expensive inputs first, or at least delay buying them. Fertilizer is a big one.
Right. They might apply less or wait longer to buy, hoping prices drop.
Exactly. So that uncertainty, that pressure on income, can curb spending on things like nitrogen and phosphate. It just weighs on fertilizer pricing and demand until the export picture looks brighter and farmers feel more confident about next season's planting and profits.
So companies feeling that pressure would be,
The big fertilizer names, like CF Industries, Seed A Dollars, which is heavily into nitrogen, and the Mosaic Company, Moodinales, a leader in phosphates and potash. They need farmers to be spending consistently, season after season. This kind of disruption can temporarily dampen that.
to looking at it all together, it's quite a chain reaction, isn't it?
It really is. One policy tweak in Argentina sends tons effects through global trade. You see gains for the logistics guys, the shippers, the traders handling Argentine volume, and lower costs for U.S. meat producers.
But at the same time, pressure on U.S. farm income, which then affects equipment makers, domestic transport, and fertilizer companies.
That's the picture.
So for you listening, I think the key takeaway is just how quickly these things can connect. Understanding whether a company benefits more from global trade flows or relies purely on U.S. farm spending, that really matters in a situation like this.
Definitely.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If this temporary tax cut works for Argentina, could we see other countries try similar tactics?
That's a possibility. It could certainly add more volatility to agricultural trade down the road.
Something to watch. Okay, before we wrap up, just the standard reminder. The information presented here, including our discussion of potential winners and losers, is purely opinion. It should not be taken as financial advice or as a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.